What is up? Welcome back. Comics Cuts live, 9 p.m. Here we go. All right, we got a lot of good things to get into today. There's been a lot of good information that hit the internet over the past 2 days. First, I was like, I don't know if we're going to have enough. We went through so much on Tuesday, but we got a good amount of stuff to get into. Besides the Alex Perez stuff that we're going to dive into, it's just me. It's a one-man show. I am going to dive into the Alex Perez stuff. There are some crazy Avengers Doomsday leaks. Wait till you see this stuff, okay? So that's what I think we should start with. First of all, do you want to see Spider-Man or do you want to see what Doctor Doom looks like? That's what we should start with. Let's just say, which Spider-Man do you think is in Avengers Doomsday? You know, we're kind of worried about Tom Holland. Check this out. Now, this photo appears to be real. So do all of them, by the way. And I only found out about this because Josh from Den of Nerds covered it on his show. And he was like, I'm not sure if these are real. They look real. He wasn't so happy with some of it, but it definitely looks real. And I know that this photo alone looks like it might just mean, oh, well, that could be from Spider-Man No Way Home. It could be, but wait till you see this. Here we got Tobey Maguire. I'm not sure who that is above Channing Tatum, but that's Channing Tatum as Gambit. And here we got James Marsden, Letitia Wright, Ian McKellen, and that's Robert Downey Jr. in the top right. That is Robert Downey Jr. Now, if you're wondering why they all have blood on their face, it's because when they do their makeup, they need to take photos of it when they leave set from that day because they need to have the photographs to reference for when they come back to set the next day. So the blood and the scarring and all that from the battle looks the same when they go back to makeup the next day. So listen, I just want to see what he looks like in the full suit and the mask. I guess this could be our first look at Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, like for real, not like a stock image that is kind of real. You know, a lot of different comments I saw on this. Here's the thing. He should be in the mask most of the time. Robert Downey Jr., we know, likes to film without the mask. And I think that it worked for Iron Man because Iron Man is someone that, first of all, Tony Stark doesn't always have a mask on. Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom have a lot in common. However, Victor Von Doom is basically always in the mask. You know, it's very rare you see him without the mask. So I think this is going to be his look. I think we're going to see him without the mask somewhat. I can't imagine that Marvel wants to pay Robert Downey Jr. $100 million for mainly 2 movies and not get some face time on that. And by the way, I don't really even know where these photos are from, but if they were good enough for Josh Denham Nerd Show, they're good enough for my show. So anyway, if you're just getting in here, there's some other photos I want to show. There's James Marsden, Cyclops, Ian McKellen, Magneto, Letitia Wright, Shuri. The interesting thing I want to say about Magneto is that looks like the Fassbender suit. That looks like the Fassbender suit from X-Men Apocalypse to me. And we got, I don't know who that is on the top. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. Maybe Mystique. And obviously there's Tobey Maguire. There's Channing Tatum. And here's another picture of Tobey Maguire. So, yeah, listen. I'm just pumped that we're starting to see some photos. It's really hard to tell what's AI and what's not these days. But the fact is that it is realistic for these photos to be appearing. We know they just finished filming. So if someone's going to leak stuff, They left set. Like, now's the time to do it, number one. Number two, the fact that they are taking photos from the makeup where they have blood on their face. We know that that's something they do. They take the photos of it. So when they come back to set the next day to put their makeup on, it's going to look similar. All right. All right. So anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. All right. So now we're going to dive into the Alex Perez stuff. So Alex Perez was asked about Doomsday, and he said that we're going to be visiting the raft in Avengers Doomsday. As for the other raft, there's an equivalent planned, not a one-to-one of the comic. I think that's awesome. Like, I want to see more stuff that could potentially tie us back to pre-Endgame. You know, the raft was something that we saw for the first time in Civil War. You know, it was also in at the end of Thunderbolts. So I think that's pretty cool. I like that or not Thunderbolts, sorry, Captain America, Brave New World. So yeah, the raft, I think that could be cool. Like, the more stuff they pull from pre-Endgame, the better. Especially because, like, that's what most people are more connected to. The multiversal saga just didn't hit the way the Infinity Saga did. You know, let's call it spade a spade, right? World War Hulk / Planet Hulk. Any plans for anything involving the Jolly Green Giant post Secret Wars? Still in development. You know, if the rumors are true and Savage Hulk is really coming back for Spider-Man Brand New Day, like, that World War Hulk, Planet Hulk storyline could be really cool. And if you don't know about that storyline, in the comics, basically the Avengers didn't know what to do with Hulk anymore because he just continued to cause reckless damage and lives at stake. Similar to the scene in Age of Ultron when, you know, Tony put on the Hulkbuster and they sent him to another planet because they just wanted to get him off the Earth, and he takes over that planet, and that's where you get Planet Hulk. So I think that could be pretty cool as long as we get Savage Hulk. If it's still this nerfed out Hulk, like, I don't want it. I already am not happy with Ruffalo as Hulk. I think Mark Ruffalo as Hulk is one of the worst comic book castings of all time. I think he's horrible. I think he's boring. I think he was better in the beginning, and I think he got worse. And no, I don't think it's just Marvel's direction with him. I think he's just not that great of an actor. Hey, Alex and Lizzie, with the recent success of the past couple of years with horror movies at the box office and critically, is Marvel going to sort of see that and really go in with the genre, i.e. Blade, Midnight Suns, etc., after dipping their toes into it with certain entries? Yup, that's an aspect they'll dive into for the next saga. You know, the Midnight Suns, like, I think that would be a cool project, but, like, I'd rather get a Blade solo project. I think they should work on establishing Blade and some of these characters before jumping into Midnight Suns. Like, Blade's such a cool character. I know they're struggling with the creative direction with that movie, but, you know, I just think that the Midnight Suns is going to do so much better if people care about those characters individually. Because, like, you know, Moon Knight's going to be in it. We know a lot of people didn't like the Moon Knight show. And, like, Ghost Rider, people want to see too, you know, but I think, like, the characters that we haven't seen they sound cool to a lot of people in theory, but if they still need to be introduced properly and built up properly. You can't just rush into a project like Midnight Suns. I think that's a terrible, terrible idea. And this is one of those things that I wouldn't put it past Marvel Studios to do, because they've been making a lot of bad decisions lately. And when people make bad decisions, it's indicative of other bad decisions. Bad decisions don't happen in isolation. Where there's smoke, there's fire, as I like to say. Hungry, welcome back. I don't know why, but I feel like Blade is an overrated character sometimes. He can be. I think like he needs the right story, and I think there's a lot of people that love to say they like Blade because it was kind of really cool in the early 2000s when those Wesley Snipes movies came out. But like, I can't tell you, I go out of my way to read Blade comics. I really like the Blood Hunt storyline that Jed McKay did. That was the big Marvel crossover that kind of set the stage for the current one, which is One World Under Doom. And Blade was one of the main characters in that, and it was really a Blade story. But yeah, I think I agree. I think Blade is not just overrated. I think he's overhyped, and I think he's like hyped up online by people who are just whatever the hype is, they'll ride with it. So I think that's a great point. Actually, I agree with you. I really like Moon Knight, though. Like, Moon Knight is a really cool character. What sucks about Moon Knight, too, and don't get me wrong, I like the Moon Knight show, but his comics are so different than what they did with the show. He is much more of a mythical meets street level character, and they didn't really touch on that. Like, he is a New York City street level superhero, and they made him more like the mythical god stuff, which, listen, I liked the show. It was cool. But if I were making a Moon Knight show, I would have it more like the Jed McKay also wrote my favorite Moon Knight run. I would have him do it like that. The reason I say Blade is an overrated character sometimes is because I see people act like we absolutely need Blade. I see people getting mad that Blade is not getting a movie anytime soon. I 100% agree with that. Like, listen, I would like a Blade movie for sure, but I'm not losing my mind over it. It's not that big of a deal to me. We have had the MCU at peak comic book movie universe, and no one was talking about a Blade movie. The Infinity Saga was incredible, and no one was talking about a Blade movie. So, you know what I will say though? Like, I watched Fantastic Four last night. By the way, shout out to Marvel Studios on that one. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but when they release a movie for home viewing, they remix the soundtrack, and they not like the soundtrack that you listen to on Spotify, like the actual mix for the movie, and the Dolby Vision, and they redo it because they know people's technology at home is different from the movie theater. They crushed it. I was so happy with it, man. Oh God! And now Kevin's in here, and I know Kevin saw my tweet because we were talking about it. I need a 4K player, and he needs a sound system. So listen. As much as I love my setup, it's kind of hard to always have every single thing, for the perfect setup. But I fucking hate my neighbors. I hate them so much. So I am going to watch like Captain America Winter Soldier at like 40 today. They deserve it because they stomp around. They got like kids. And, my super said to me, my super's like, oh, well, they have like 4 kids. I'm like, do the kids have parents? What the fuck do you mean? I don't give a shit if they got kids. I really don't like the idea of Toby and Andrew in Doomsday. Save them for Secret Wars. Don't have every big character in Doomsday. I got to tell you, I agree with that too. You're cooking tonight, bro. I agree. I don't think they should be in the movie unless they couldn't get Tom Holland in it for whatever reason. That's the only thing I would say. If they really couldn't work it out to get Tom Holland in Avengers Doomsday, fine. But it is annoying that we're getting Toby, and if it's Toby and Andrew and the Fox X-Men, it's like, come on, bro. It's so cheap. It's like, people aren't bought in on the current roster, so you're reaching back to like the Fox universe from the early 2000s. Like, build up. You should have built up the characters, okay? It's so ridiculous. And not to throw names, but someone used to always say, "Oh, well, they shouldn't have killed off Tony Stark." Like, well, you should have criticized it then, because it seems like some people just want to make it easy for them. Whereas I'm a fan. I want them to raise the bar. I'm not trying to argue for them to lower the bar because I'm a fan. Okay, I'm not a shill. Blade deserves more shine. Welcome back, Kevin. Blade deserves more shine, but if it's PG-13, they can keep that ish. That's a fair point too. I think the Blade movies that came out in the 2000s were rated R too, right? I'm pretty sure they were, because I remember I wanted to see Blade, the first one, when it came out. And my dad, I was in 98. I was like, I was 8 years old at that time. So I remember I wanted to see it in theaters, and my dad was like, no. He didn't know that I used to watch his Laserdisc when he left out of the house. So, like, I've already seen Terminator Judgment Day and, things like that. But the first Blade movie that I saw in theaters, I think, was Blade Trinity, the last one, which was sick. I liked all of them. I love those movies. Hell yeah, bud. Spend at least $500 on that 4K player. I forget the model name, but the one that I'm thinking about getting is, I think it's like $450. Yes, they were def R-rated. If you need advice on the sound system, I could give you that too, because I'm crazy about those. Oh, man. Yeah, they were R-rated. They were great movies, though. Like, Wesley Snipes' Blade was great. I don't know Mahershala Ali well enough to say if I think he was going to be a good Blade or a bad Blade. Like, I just don't know the actor well enough. I think it's cool that he seemed to be really involved and really passionate about what they were actually doing with the movie. That I could appreciate. If it's the Panasonic, it's done right by me for the past 4 to 5 years. I will let you know after the show, because I have it written down somewhere on my phone. But it's like a BBX4 580, something like that. But I don't know if it's a Panasonic. I think it is a Panasonic. I just swapped my Samsung Q990F to the Q990C because I was reading about it, and the C, it has, like, the Dolby Atmos is much more accurate and precise, which is crazy because let me tell you, I wasn't even thinking about getting a new one. I love my Q990F. I still have it, actually. But, I like, it sold me. And then the new subwoofer is, like, much smaller, and it doesn't the bass doesn't linger as much, and that's more accurate too. So that made me want to get the new one. But it's really the same thing other than that. I also want to upgrade my TV. Not that I have an LG C2, which is great, but I want to get the newer C5. All right. So anyway, what do we got next? Punisher. And this kind of rolls into Spider-Man. So, hey, Alex, will the Punisher special have any references to Spider-Man, since it looks like it will take place before Spider-Man Brand New Day? Alex answers, it establishes how he gets to where he is when Brand New Day kicks off. I don't want to say this is genius, because this is like a no-brainer, but I just want to address why this is the right move. This is the right move because it's going to get fans hyped more than they already are, which is crazy for Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's going to help boost ticket sales for Spider-Man Brand New Day, and it's going to make people bigger fans of the Punisher. We also need to remember that, like, if you're watching this show right now, chances are you're not a casual fan, okay? You are someone who is very passionate about comic book movies like I am. But there are a lot of people that go to these movies. Spider-Man No Way Home did $1.9 billion in box office. I can guarantee you 99% of the people that saw Spider-Man No Way Home are casuals. And a lot of those casuals, if you think about it, how much of that do you think watched the Netflix Punisher series? I don't want to say only 1% because it's definitely more than that, but it's definitely less than 50%. It's definitely like if it's 30-40%, that is a good number. I would say, and a lot of people don't really know the Punisher that well. So I do think that the special presentation is very important for this because you know where Punisher's buildup doesn't belong? In Spider-Man Brand New Day. Spider-Man needs to shine the most in that movie. That movie can't be exploited to build up other characters. So giving Punisher the room to have him established in the MCU more so than Daredevil Born Again. And by the way, a lot of people didn't watch Daredevil Born Again, okay? Daredevil's one of my favorite characters, but let's call a spade here. That show didn't top on the Nielsen's top 10, which means there's a lot of people that you thought, oh, maybe they got introduced into Punisher and Daredevil Born Again. Wrong. Too many people didn't watch it. So hopefully the Punisher special presentation does better. Hopefully the marketing makes makes people aware that this special presentation is leading into Spider-Man Brand New Day. My concern with that is that Kevin Feige does seem to want people to feel comfortable buying tickets without feeling like they have to do homework. And that makes me think they might not play the Spider-Man Brand New Day up on the Punisher special presentation too much because he wants to sell Spider-Man tickets more than he wants people to watch Punisher special presentation. Okay? A lot of people that watch these MCU movies don't watch the shows in general, even if they are good. 100%. And you know what? I didn't watch Marvel Zombies last night. I'm going to watch it, but like I had the time to watch Fantastic Four, and I wanted to watch that more than I wanted to watch Marvel Zombies. I'm definitely going to watch Marvel Zombies, but like it wasn't that big of a priority for me. But I do think that the Marvel animation is doing really, really well. Hold on. Where is that? So I'm going to jump around a little bit just because I feel like I'm flowing with this stuff right now. Okay. So the Marvel TV head, Brad Winderbaum, I like Brad. I think he's a really smart guy. Whenever he says something, it's usually something valuable. He was talking about the release strategy for the upcoming Marvel animation projects. And he was saying that the new seasons of X-Men 97 and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man are going to be released annually. That's crazy. We're going to be getting X-Men 97 and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man shows on an annual basis. Like, that is awesome. And there's potential for more seasons for Marvel Zombies if it performs well. So, I did hear that some of the What If writers are the ones writing X-Men 97 Season 2. Obviously, Bo DeMeo got let go. I like Bo. Like, he's a good follow. He's very smart. He's very opinionated. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like that he's opinionated, and I like that he's outspoken. I think it sucks that he had to do what he did, or allegedly, and got let go because he was obviously very talented. But Brad Winderbaum is very good at what he does, and I'm sure the writers that he tapped from What If to write for X-Men 97 are talented too. But I really liked both X-Men 97, and I was shocked that I liked Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I will say I did not like how woke Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was. But it was a good show. So I feel like I'm saying, yeah, it had some propaganda, but the entertainment was fun. But you know what? It's the world we live in, unfortunately. I still feel like Daredevil should have been in Brand New Day. He's such an easy character that you can slot into any street level movie, especially Spider Man. I agree with that. I really was hoping Daredevil was going to be in that movie too. And he was in No Way Home, for like 2 seconds, but he was in it, But yeah, I do think he belongs in that movie. I would like to see him. I think there might be a comment about that on here, about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Let me find it. Hold on. Are there any more heroes besides Yelena that are going to appear in Brand New Day? Alex Perez answered, just a few, but I don't think it's like a full-on appearance, just a short cameo a la Matt Murdock in No Way Home. So even if Daredevil is in this movie, I wouldn't expect it to be anything of significance or really anything that would matter unless they're saving him for like a crazy surprise. But Alex Perez, this guy is really credible. He's usually right about his stuff. Let me just delete that so we don't go back into it. All right. Glad I didn't watch She-Hulk, Secret Invasion, and the Marvels. Yeah, I watched like some of the first episode of She-Hulk, and I had it. I didn't want to watch it. I thought it was horrible, and I'm just kind of glad that the actress made some crazy comments recently. I don't know if you saw this, but with the whole Jimmy Kimmel controversy, she was like, cancel your Disney Plus. So I was like, well, thankfully we won't have She-Hulk anymore, I'm excited to get Fantastic Four. Only saw it once in theaters, and I'm holding back from watching till I get it. Smart move. I saw it 3 times in theaters. Fantastic Four, one of like my top favorites, so I just had to. And I watched it once since it's been out. So, but yeah, sometimes I do the same thing. Like I just want to wait to watch it on my setup at home. So I get where you're coming from. She-Hulk had one good episode, the last. It made me tap out on Marvel shows, to be honest. Yeah, Marvel shows have been pretty bad for the most part. Like the amount of damage they have done to their brand's prestige and box office with the Disney Plus shows is immeasurable. It's insane. With Disney Plus, like before Captain America Brave New World came out, people thought that movie had a lot of potential. People saw it as it was going to be something similar to the Captain America movies. So it's another Captain America movie, and the Captain America trilogy is arguably the best trilogy of any comic book movie ever. And people thought it was going to be a continuation of that. And then it came out, and it wasn't. But even though people thought it had potential, it's not like it did well on its box office on opening weekend before people were saying that they hated it, And I think a lot of that is to blame with the Disney Plus stuff. Like I think Disney Plus Marvel Entertainment has been so bad that it caused people to lose interest in the MCU as a whole. I mean, the first was the good one. Okay. Yeah, that's the one I tapped out on, but I didn't have any, like, I was pretty tapped out from the stuff I was seeing about it from even before it came out. I never really cared for She-Hulk. Like, she could be fine in her small appearances in some of the comics I read, like Fantastic Four or, Spider-Man sometimes, but I never really cared for her. And I didn't know much about the actress then, but I really don't like that actress now, I'll tell you that. Hello, Alex and Lizzie. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for doing this again. Are we going to get a Spider-Man Daredevil and Punisher team up. In the future, with more characters, sure. It's got to be coming down the pipe, man. Like, it's just to pass up on those three teaming up would be crazy. I really hope they do the Devil's Reign storyline. The Devil's Reign story is so sick. Basically, Wilson Fisk made it illegal to be a superhero in New York, and they kind of touched on that in the show, but the comic storyline was way better, even though the show was good. The minute I saw the clip on YouTube with She-Hulk explaining how much harder she has things over Hulk, that's when I was like, yep, I'm not watching. Yeah, exactly. It's things like that, the twerking with, and the I would do anything for you, Megan Thee Stallion. Like, that is so corny. I'll never understand the people who like worship celebrities. It's funny, actually. This kid who I'm friends with he's got a YouTube. It's Cinema Hooked with Chris Hutton. Check out his page if you're interested. I mean, no, you should. He great content, smart guy. Anyway, he was like, I forget which actress he was talking about, but I saw he was like, it was the girl that's in a lot of the Mission Impossible movies, Rebecca Ferguson. I like her too. He was like, I'm a big fan of Rebecca Ferguson. You know what I do? I watch the movies. I leave it at that. I'm not like freaking out when she's getting engaged. Like the videos of women and some men too, like going nuts over Taylor Swift getting engaged is crazy, bro. And that when She-Hulk said, like, I will do anything for you, Megan Thee Stallion, it's just this like celebrity worship culture that is just such a turn off to me, man. Will Tom Holland's Spider-Man make his own tech and gadgets in future projects? Yep. This is important. Like, we want Spider-Man to be standing on his own. I'm happy that they're going to do that. Like, as much as I want to see him work with the Fantastic Four, I want him to be alone for a while. That's more important to me. But, one of my favorite comics is when they think Johnny Storm is dead and Spider-Man joins the Fantastic Four, but they rename it the Future Foundation. It's really cool. Do you see them acknowledging, in terms of plot sense, that the symbiote left behind in the MCU is actually from another universe? I don't think so, but maybe. See, this, I think, is an important component to Spider-Man's future. I love No Way Home, but I see Marvel starting to pull from other universes or franchises that aren't native to the MCU to help Marvel Studios in the time of need. Not to help the characters, not to help the movie, to help Marvel Studios. Okay? What I'm talking about is in Spider-Man No Way Home, all the villains were not native to the MCU. In Deadpool and Wolverine, none of the characters really were native to the MCU. None of the main characters or the superheroes were native to the MCU at all. And in Avengers Doomsday, too many of the characters aren't native to the MCU. I don't like that. I don't like this trend of characters that aren't native to the MCU. Like, here and there, it's fine. And it would be cool if it didn't feel like Marvel was doing it as a business strategy because they weren't able to stand on their own 2 feet. That's what I don't like. And when it comes to Venom, like when they teased the Tom Hardy Venom crossover, that was way before all those other characters from all these other universes started appearing in the MCU. And I would like to see a Venom that is native to the MCU. Like, as much as I like Tom Hardy as Venom, I don't think it's the right place. I don't think it's the right time. I think that people just have a really bad taste in their mouth from the SSMU, the Sony spin-off universe. If they're going to do Venom, like, they need a new Venom, a new actor, and the symbiote being completely native to the MCU. I want Spidey to make his own tech like we see in the Insomniac Spidey games. 100%. 100%. By the way, the tech in the games is so cool, and his web shooters look so cool in the games. What did you guys think of the Wolverine trailer? Listen, I think it looks good, but I actually didn't realize that none of it is gameplay. Some of it looked like gameplay to me. I love that it's taking a lot from God of War. God of War is one of my all-time favorite games. I think the story is going to be incredible, but I do think Spider-Man 2 tried to do too much. Like, by the time MJ got the symbiote and became Scream, I was just like, the symbiote is like an STD in a whorehouse, okay? You know, everyone's got it. And it made the symbiote not cool, you know? I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I didn't like how in Spider-Man 2, it felt like the game held your hand. It felt like they made the game in a way that they knew they wanted children to be able to beat it easily. I played it on max difficulty, and I still thought it was too easy. I didn't feel it as much like that in the first Spider-Man game or even the Miles Morales one. I don't know what went wrong with Spider-Man 2, but I hope Wolverine is more like Spider-Man 1 than Spider-Man 2. I love the Wolverine trailer, but I need actual gameplay. Also, I don't know. I hope it's open world. I'm sure it's going to be somewhat open world, but I also thought like they understood Wolverine really well. Like, especially when I heard the voice actor talking about it, and he was saying how, you know, Wolverine is someone who's been betrayed time and time again, but he still shows up for people. Like, that's Wolverine, man. I also didn't like the propaganda in the second game. 100%, bro. 100%. Insomnia. All these game studios are like that. It's crazy. But I've been playing Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is my favorite video game franchise of all time. It was really popular when I was growing up, and Metal Gear Solid Delta is a fully remade version of Metal Gear Solid 3. I highly recommend. Hungry, I think you're a bit younger. I highly recommend you check that out, bro. I promise you, you will love that game. It will change. It'll change your life when it comes to video games. Okay. Is the version of Brand New Day we're getting the version where Tom and Zendaya were very excited reading the script of? Alex Perez answered yes. Tom Holland seems like he's having the time of his life, other than the concussion, making this movie, which is awesome to see. He looks like he really cares, and those set photos, like in the middle of the street, were amazing. The one thing I want to say is I have thought a bit about him saying that he is listening to the fans online. And credit to Josh from Dead and Nerds, because he made me realize this. You know, granted, I've always known Spider-Man fans are never going to be happy, but Josh was just like, you should not be reading what Spider-Man fans say online. Spider-Man fans online hate Spider-Man. They really do. They have hated every Spider-Man comic since the 2000s. Seriously, they have not praised a single Spider-Man comic since One More Day by J. Michael Straczynski, which was a great comic. But they are just so upset. They don't even know what they want. They complained that MJ wasn't with Spider-Man. Nick Spencer gives them MJ with Spider-Man. They still complain about it. It's insane. So I think that if he's going to read what Spider-Man fans say online, most of them are going to be saying some complete BS, and he's better off just like sticking to his gut because he's been doing things right. I have a friend that said this, but do you agree that WB will likely never make a Green Arrow game? Because why make Green Arrow when you make Batman? I have a feeling he's right. I don't know about that because Green Arrow uses a bow and arrow. The combat could be different because of that. And also, you never know what could happen. Like, we could end up having a situation where Warner Brothers wants to make Green Arrow more popular as a character. And if that happens, maybe they'll give us a Green Arrow game. However, I think it's more than likely he is right, but I wouldn't hold out and say that it's 100% because I do think there's always a chance. But the issue with WB and Batman is, and it's almost like a pick your poison type of thing, is that Batman keeps the lights on for DC. It's been like that for a really, really long time, and they are never going to put a character over Batman in terms of their priority. I know it might look like Superman is the priority right now, but I promise you, I almost think that they are making Superman the focus of the DCU now because they know once Batman comes, they won't be able to do that anymore. You know what I mean? And if they want to make Superman more popular than he has been recently, now is the time to do it. Because when Batman comes, it's Batman's world, bro. Yeah, I'm younger than you for sure. LOL. Yeah, yeah, it's all right. I'm getting old. Yeah. But yeah. I didn't complain about Spidey books, told Paul. LMAO. Bro, people hate Paul. I never hated Paul as much as everyone else did. I don't care that Peter isn't with MJ. Like, I also think Shay's kind of cool. His newer girlfriend, even though we haven't seen her like with him in a bit. But the thing is, Batman just has more than Green Arrow. Batman has better side characters for DLC, better villains and stories to pull from, better potential of gameplay and gadgets, etc. Yeah, Green Arrow has a pretty cool like family unit too, but 100% I agree. Batman still has better side characters. He still has better villains, and he definitely has better stories to pull from and gameplay and gadgets. All of it, bro. And like Batman's a billionaire. Green Arrow's loaded too, but like, yeah. I will say though, like Green Arrow, I think they could do a lighthearted Spider-Verse style of a story or movie with Green Arrow, and with Batman, you really can't do that as a Batman solo. Maybe as a Batman like World's Finest thing with Superman, you could pull it off, and that's why like Dan Mora's art for that book is so good. But you can't do that with Batman. I saw people knocking Frank Miller online recently. To be fair, I've criticized some of his recent variant covers in his art, but like to hate on Frank Miller as a storyteller is insane. Batman and Daredevil would not be the characters they are today without Frank Miller. Period. It's not even debatable. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, Frank Miller is one of the greatest, will always be one of the greatest comic writers that ever lived. Ever. Dynamic Duo is DC's answer into the Spider-Verse. I hope it's animated in, like, a cool style and not just, like, a cartoon, It has to be in order for that statement to be true. Unless, what I would love to see? I would love to see a DC animated movie in the style of Dan Mora's art. A lot of people think Dan Mora is the best comic artist in the game right now. I think it's debatable. I think he might be. I don't know. I think it might be. I really also like Jorge Jimenez. I like Pepe Larraz. There's a lot of guys I like. But Dan Mora is definitely in the conversation for numero uno. That guy, his art is just insane. You know, it's so cool because give me a second. I'm gonna I gotta throw up a photo because I'm hyping it up so much. But it looks like an electric cartoon. It's hard to describe it. All right, hold on. Like, how sick is that? That's the kind of, because you could do that and make it more 3D, and I think it would be really cool for a DC animated movie. Well, I have another one. Oh, that's the same one. Sorry. I only. Oh, here's. This is from World's Finest, so it's Superman and Batman duo team up comic run. But there's Batman. Like, come on. All right. So back to Spider-Man. Could you please give us a clue who is going to be the main villain of Spider-Man Brand New Day? Recent discoveries have made it seem that Alistar Smith, the Spider Slayer, could be the big villain based on the mood board leaks from Pinterest. Alex Perez answers, it's simpler, meaner, badder, and even Tom Holland technically spoiled it in an interview. I don't know what Tom Holland spoiled in an interview. I need to look that part up. But that still sounds like to me that it's Tombstone. I think Tombstone's going to be the big bad. I really do. And, you know, if you were watching my last show, you know why I think it's a great idea. Tombstone is a master manipulator. He's a strategist, and he plays New York City like a chessboard. And he does it so well that he gets Spider-Man to do his dirty work for him. And we know that the plot for Spider-Man Brand New Day involves the big bad villain manipulating Spider-Man, Punisher, and Hulk to all be fighting each other. And then at some point, they realize they've been manipulated and they set their sights on the villain. And I think it's going to be Tombstone, given that we now know that Marvin Jones is playing Tombstone. Hi, Alex and Lizzie. Hope you both are doing well. A few weeks back, Daniel RPK reported that Yelena will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Any chance you can confirm if that is true? Alex Perez answers, yes, it's true. So this movie's gonna have a lot going on, you know. But like, I want to push back on, as much as I think it's important for Spider-Man to have a movie that's more of a classical Spider-Man movie, we don't know the runtime of Yelena. Like, I don't think Yelena is going to be so significant to the story the way Punisher and Hulk will be. I feel like Tombstone is going to be the Lex of Superman, while Hulk is the Ultraman of this movie. Interesting. I could see that. Especially because it sounds like it's going to be the Savage Hulk. That's what Alex Perez just said too. Except Spider-Man not going to be able to kill the Hulk. I'm not saying like physically. I'm saying that, you know, from a moral standpoint, being the superhero he is, he wouldn't kill the Hulk. Now that the production of Brand New Day is underway, is there anything new you can tell us about MJ's role and if there have been any changes from what you previously heard from your sources? MIT is evil. More specifically, and so as not to get in trouble with certain relatives of mine, he's saying that Marvel's version of MIT is evil. Wipes sweat from forehead. So that's interesting. I like that they're going to make MIT evil. I hate universities. I think universities are such a scam and they take advantage and they indoctrinate children. I think they're horrible. So I like that they're going to play the villain in this. But I don't really know what that means. It sounds interesting, but it does sound like Zendaya and Ned, like, they're going to obviously be in this movie if MIT is going to be evil, because we know they're going to MIT. With She-Hulk likely being erased, it gives more room for the writers in how they bring Angry Hulk back 100%. And She-Hulk is done. Like, you told the internet to cancel their subscriptions to Disney Plus. You know, like, they're not going to keep her around after that. You know, Avengers Doomsday being done filming, like, they have 14 months now to do reshoots, post-production, VFX, all of that. They are giving themselves an enormous amount of time. This movie's definitely not going to be delayed, which is great. And Marvel stepped it up this year in terms of their VFX. Like, Fantastic Four's VFX were amazing. Thunderbolt was great. And, you know, Brave New World was decent, but, like, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, they crushed it on the VFX. I really do think Marvel is back. I just don't think they're going to get credit for it until after Avengers Doomsday comes out and the movie's great and people love it. I think that's like what people are waiting on, because I think a lot of people aren't sure. And like, as you know, Hungry and you and Kevin, you said that last Tuesday. You know, a lot of people aren't feeling a lot of the things that are going on with Avengers Doomsday, and that's fair. There's a lot of things on it that I'm not feeling myself that I have called out as well. But I think they're going to pull it off. I really do. You think Hulk will be in the first teaser of Brand New Day, or will they save him for the official trailer? I think he's going to be, actually, I don't know. Based on the past, I would say yes. Just because Red Hulk was all over the marketing for Captain America Brave New World. However, there's two things that I think are different this time. Number one, Red Hulk was all over the marketing and it didn't work. That movie did not do well in box office. So, why do it again when you don't need to? And it's not even going to get you the result that you wanted. That's number one. Number two, I think Marvel is very aware that fans want this to be a Spider-Man story. People want a more classical Spider-Man, and I think they're going to want to portray that in the trailer. However, I also, I think I shared recently that I was listening to a podcast and James Gunn was talking, and James Gunn was saying that it is so difficult to cut a trailer because you only have like 2.5 minutes, and you need to put something in the trailer that's going to attract every segment of your audience that you want to buy tickets to the movie. And that's a very wide range of people. So I think like us who are obsessed with this stuff, we all want a classical Spider-Man movie for the most part. There's obviously some fans that aren't in that boat, but you know, there are also fans that just want to watch a movie like Jurassic Park because it has spectacle and Hulk is spectacle and he's going to sell tickets because of that. So, if I had to guess, I think Hulk will be in all the trailers. Can't wait to see Hulk and Thor be the top two powerhouses of the Avengers again, like the first Avengers movie. Yeah, that's going to be really cool. Oh man, I can't wait to see Thor and Thor done right because the Russos really get characterizations right. Like they never ever drop the ball on that. And Thor, like they have been the best with Thor. He was so cool in both Infinity War and Endgame. So I am so hyped to see Thor in Doomsday because the Russos love Thor and they know how to do Thor justice. Red Hulk is nowhere near as marketable and popular as Hulk. Yeah, but that's the point. Like they still put him in all the marketing. So don't you think they put if they put Red Hulk in all the marketing, they're definitely going to put Hulk in the marketing because Hulk is that much bigger than Red Hulk. Maybe instead of showing the Hulk at the end of the teaser, you hear the Hulk roar and you see Spider-Man looking up at a big savage monster. See, like that's something I would prefer. I would prefer to not have Hulk in the first teaser, where really I don't want to see him in any of the trailers, to be honest. You know. I'd like to see Punisher in the trailers. That's someone I'd want to see. I hope they save Yelena as a surprise. I definitely want to see Tombstone. I also hope that other Spider-Man villains are in this movie. Not to be a significant character, but just to show the Spider-Man's world in New York City is lived in, and to keep us guessing on who could be the villains of the next movie. Like, show different villains and not necessarily tease them as the next villain, but now we'll have to guess who the villain could be, and we'll have a couple other villains we're introduced to. Like, that's something I would like to see out of this movie. It's rumored that Hulk accidentally killed Peter's parents in the first Avengers movies as collateral damage. I've never heard that. And I'm thinking to myself, why Peter's parents and not Uncle Ben? That's a great point. If there's a time to dive into Uncle Ben, it's now, by the way. Like, he lost everyone, you know? They should at least talk about it. But I just don't know how they would do it without addressing that they never mentioned it in the Home trilogy. Also, as much as I love Spider-Man, and he's obviously one of my favorite characters, you know who was right is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was right in No Way Home. Like, if he just listened to Doctor Strange, May would be alive. All that bad stuff wouldn't have happened. It's just crazy. I don't understand how anyone could watch Civil War and not agree with Captain America, and I don't understand how anyone could watch No Way Home and not agree with Doctor Strange. There's so much potential of Ben in the MCU, given how they never really confirmed his status in the MCU. Are we really just going to pretend Ben is not important when he's Peter's actual uncle, unlike May? Yeah, it's crazy. And Ben is like such an important figure. You know, I don't know if you've read Ultimate Spider-Man, but the new one by Hickman, it's so good. And it's basically, so Marvel did it first, but it's their version of Absolute. And my screen is blurred. Anyway, Uncle Ben is alive, and Uncle Ben runs and owns the Daily Bugle with J. Jonah Jameson. It's crazy, bro. It's so good. Question for you, Hungry. If Spider-Man, Tom Holland, isn't in Avengers Doomsday, would you be okay with Tobey Maguire being in Avengers Doomsday? That's what I was thinking. MCU can pull off something like the new Ultimate Universe for Ben. Yeah, that would make sense. No, even if Tom is not in Doomsday, I don't want Toby and Andrew. You know, it's enough. It's like enough of the people that aren't involved in the MCU just being pulled into the MCU. It's crazy. I feel like the three Spidey reunion for Secret, yeah, it makes more sense for Secret Wars, 100%. By the way, I saw something crazy on Twitter today. I saw someone who's pretty credible, the Geeky Cast, say that, you know what? Hold on. I'm just going to. He posted this photo. Give me a second. I am going to. Just wait till you see this. If Marvel does this, it would be wild. He said it's happening. Bucky Barnes, Captain America, which did happen in the comics. And this is a very comic accurate suit. When Bucky was Captain America, his suit was like this, but it was like more metallic looking. Thoughts? Would you prefer Bucky as Captain America to Sam Wilson? I like Sam Wilson as Captain America. I like him as a character. I'm a big fan. But it didn't work. It didn't land. A lot of people didn't like it. Maybe they give it to Bucky and the MCU performs better. I don't know. I think a lot of people would complain. I do. And I think it would be pretty harsh if Marvel did it. I don't think it's Anthony Mackie's fault that it didn't work. I like Bucky as Winter Soldier, similar to how I prefer Dick Grayson as Nightwing and not Batman. That's fair. I almost don't think it would be fair to Anthony Mackie and I don't think it would be fair to all the fans. That's what I think. If there's anyone to blame for Captain America: Brave New World, it's Marvel. And yeah, the optics of it wouldn't look good because Bucky is obviously more popular than Sam, and you're going to get the woke mob screaming racism. Yep, 100%. 100%. I also don't think it makes sense right now because, like, they just did Thunderbolts and they made them the new Avengers. And if you want that team to still be important, you need Bucky Barnes to be the Winter Soldier and not Captain America. Because the second he's Captain America, that entire team doesn't really make sense. They're no longer that team of outsiders. You know what I mean? You guys want to talk a little James Bond? I need Bucky to have his Winter Soldier name and look back. I'm so tired of these downgrade looks and names they give him. Like White Wolf, come on. Yeah, I agree. However, I do think he looked cool as hell in the post credit scene of Thunderbolts. Do you think that 6 year plan that Gunn has is still the plan? I think a lot of it is probably, but I think some of it's changing. I think some of it's changing because they put the first movie out and the first movie was successful. I just think that, like, it's very difficult to do something like that and not have anything released and have everything set in stone. You know, I think most of it will probably stay pretty close on that path. However, I think like I think they really liked the results from Superman, and there's a reason that James Gunn didn't write the script to Man of Tomorrow until after Superman, because when you put out that movie, like, you find out what resonates with audiences, and that might not be everything that you expected. And I think that's what helped him get through writing Man of Tomorrow so quickly. And I think that, like, the things that he wants to do with Lanterns and Batman down the line and everything like that is probably the same. But I think he probably tweaked some of the things he wanted to do in the Superman saga based on the success of Superman. By the way, the Peacemaker show, like, I think it's this episode or this week, the one that's releasing tonight or next week, that is supposedly, like, insane, and it leads, like, directly into Man of Tomorrow. I love Peacemaker. I love the show. It's so good. I love the character. I think John Cena's acting is incredible. And I love the theme of like he's not happy with his circumstances, and he finds this other dimension where his brother's alive and his father, and he's like, I'm going to live there because I could be happy there. And like that's crazy. And it's also very similar to the premise of some of the Crisis events. And I don't want to say that I think James Gunn is planning on doing something like Infinite Crisis anytime soon, but I do think he is planting the seeds thematically for something like Infinite Crisis, where they argued which Earth they're going to make the prime Earth, and things like that. Hot take: I don't want to see a Crisis on Infinite Earths for the DCU, and if they do that, not till like 15 years down the line. See, I don't know if I want to see Crisis on Infinite Earths, but I would probably prefer Infinite Crisis or Final Crisis. But do you just mean a crisis in general? But I still don't want to see it anytime soon. Like, imagine they bring the Snyderverse for a future Crisis. Not gonna lie, Snyder Cult aside, that would be fire. I agree, by the way. I would like to see that. I liked the Snyderverse. I enjoyed Man of Steel. I enjoyed Batman versus Superman. I enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League. I thought those were great movies. I was a fan of them. I was someone that tweeted released the Snyder Cut. Like I just can't stand what that fandom has become. But I agree. I actually think that would be really cool, but like way further down the line. I would much rather see something like Sinestro Corps War or Blackest Night. Like that's something I would want to see sooner. I feel like if the Snyder Cult weren't such babies, Cavill could have gotten a future second and third movie as Elseworlds 10 years down the line, similar to Reeves' Batman universe. It's much more likely that it would have happened. What really hurt them, in my view, which I think is similar to yours, is like they got the Snyder Cut, and they, instead of being grateful and appreciative, they turned around, spit in Warner Brothers' faces, demanded more, and Warner Brothers was like, okay, you know what? We don't want anything to do with you. Like, you are never going to be happy. Everything is like the end of the world with you guys. We don't want you in our fandom anymore. Like, that's what I think. The one thing I'm really pissed though about what happened is like, I wish we were getting a Flash project sooner. I think that the one other thing I think that the Snyder Cult was successful in was just convincing people that The Flash wasn't a good movie. I only have one more thing on the docket, and then I was going to call it a night. Is James Bond. I was going to do James Bond real quick. Why? Was there something you wanted to talk about? Pretty short night. We didn't have much. We went through a lot on Tuesday. Okay. All right. So let's do Bond. So James Bond has a video game coming out called James Bond First Light. And now we are learning more about the upcoming James Bond movie. You know, they are saying that they are beginning filming for James Bond 2026 and 2027. And it's currently focused on James Bond's early career as a Royal Navy commander prior to being recruited to MI6, set to release in 2028, possibly in November, like previous films. So, you know, one of the things that's interesting is that they are both the video game and the movie are looking to do origin type story of James Bond, a young James Bond. Because the last James Bond we had, who was No Time to Die, Daniel Craig, and he was very old for a James Bond. He's the oldest Bond we've ever had. There's that or Pierce Brosnan, or both in their last movies. And James Bond died. And for a long time, a lot of fans wanted an old man James Bond type of movie. Well, now we finally have that. And I think it's really interesting that the creative direction for both the video game and the movie is this young origin story James Bond, which, by the way, I think it's a great idea. I think they should do it. I've always wanted to see a young James Bond type of story play out, and I think that it would set the stage for them to be able to, you know, show how he grew into becoming the legendary 007, something I've always wanted to see, you know, but I think it's a very serious push, and I think that they have a lot of strategy behind this, considering both the video game and the movie are going in the same direction. I'm super excited about it. I'm a huge James Bond fan. You know, this is the first time I've ever spoken about anything other than Marvel or DC on the channel. But, you know, I'm thinking about testing that out more, you know, only on real special occasions. Like James Bond is something I'll probably talk about. And, you know, things like Mission Impossible, a more action movie, James, like spy stuff. But still, it'll, you know, regardless, be 99% Marvel and DC. So, you know, if that's all you want to hear, don't worry. It's not going to really change. It's very rare. We have James Bond news to talk about anyway. But, yeah, that's all I got for the night. So if you guys got something, or, you know, Hungry, if you got something you want to talk about before we call it, we can do that. Or if not, we'll call it a night. I'll be back next week on Tuesday. Thursday, you know, maybe I might do a Monday night show. Watch my socials, because next week I can't do Thursday because it is Yom Kippur, Jewish holiday. So maybe instead of Thursday, I'll do Monday and Tuesday. I can't do Wednesdays, so maybe I'll do Monday and Tuesday instead of doing Thursday for next week. But definitely on Tuesday. All right. Hungry, Kevin, if you're still here, thank you guys for joining your time. As always, I appreciate it. And everyone else who joined, I appreciate your time and support as well. Thanks again. See you guys back on Tuesday. Have a good night.